Thanks for listening to the Something in the Wilderness podcast. We're back with another song episode this week. My name's Steve, and today I'm sure we have a song that you all know, you may or may not love, but hopefully either way, you'll enjoy some good discussion again. We have another new guest joining the podcast this time. I met her on the Holiday from Real cruise last fall, and we've kept in touch since. So I want to welcome Arielle to the podcast for the first time.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
You know what? I forgot to ask before the recording, so I'll ask now. Am I saying your name properly, Arielle?
I say Arielle, but it doesn't, I'm never offended if you call me Ariel or Arielle or
Okay.
my parents are from New York, so I've got that. Ah.
Yeah. Arielle. I'll stick to Arielle because
Arielle.
that's your
Yeah.
name. So.
Whatever is easiest is
All
fine.
right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. It was really cool to meet you and keep in touch and see what you're doing. So I want to talk about all the things that you're doing. I want to talk about your fandom for Andrew McMahon. And I want to talk about the song that we chose to talk about. So
Yeah.
why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, it was so great to meet you and Marcy on the cruise. I currently live just south of Boston. I'm from here originally, but I lived in New York, in Manhattan for a really long time. So I consider both cities home, and you'll find me at both venues. Like anytime he's really anywhere between Boston and Philly, I usually make a run for it. Yeah, I design socks for a living for
Okay.
a lot of
I don't
big
think I knew that.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yep, for one of the largest retailers in the US and several other ones that we all frequently shop at. I had gone to school for fashion design and got a job right out of college working in New York at an apparel company, and my life was literally like the Devil Wears Prada. I hated it. My boss was super mean, and I worked 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it was like, if you finish today's work, you start tomorrow. And I was like, this isn't right for me. And in 2009, the recession hit, and I actually got laid off. And I sort of was like, what am I doing with my life? And refocused. And I ended up becoming a sock designer. And it's been doing it now for over 15 years, which is crazy to think. But yeah.
Well, I'll have
So
to remember that because every time I have a podcast meeting, I tell my daughters, and they ask a little bit, oh, who are you meeting with? And I think they'll be fascinated by your job, actually. I think that's going to be really
yes,
interesting to them.
kids are always very into it.
Yeah.
And I'll see if maybe I have some stuff floating around that I can send to you that will fit your girls. Because I usually request samples. I do everything from newborn babies up to men and in between. So,
Hmm.
but all my kids, I get a lot of girl samples because that's a really big category for me. And I work from home, so all my samples are here in my house.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. This may be a tangent, but were you interested in doing that from a young age? Because I feel like that's something my kids are really into, but that might be normal for young girls to be into that
um,
sort of thing.
it actually, and I was going to touch on this later, but I actually really wanted to be an astronaut for a long time. Which, when
Really?
you brought up the
How
song as a point, I was like,
appropriate.
right? I was like, that is so funny. But I was probably 12 or 13, and I don't know if you are familiar with 17 magazine. I don't think it exists
Familiar.
anymore, but used to be like a tween young girls magazine. And I've always been very creative. I've always loved to draw. My mom was somewhat of a fine artist, and in 17 magazine there was a contest to enter to win your own prom dress designed.
Oh,
And but in it there was a silhouette of a woman that you could trace to draw stuff over.
sure.
And I had books and books and books of just drawings that I would make, and I was just like, I love this. I love making clothes. And yeah, probably since I was 12 or 13, I knew I wanted to work in fashion. I love fashion. I love accessories. If you know me, you know it's pretty evident that I like to shop. So yeah, it's always been something I've been interested in. I definitely not as being a sock designer specifically. I
Yeah.
really came into that accidentally, but it's a good middle ground for me because it's still fashion related. I still get to do a lot of trend stuff, but it's more graphic based, and it's not nearly, I have a much better work life balance than I would have if I had continued working in high fashion like I was doing. So yeah, it worked out perfectly for me.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that. So when we met, we actually met at the Dear Jack Foundation Wine Night event,
Yep.
which was, how did they do? It was like a lottery, right, to get
It
in
was
for
a
the most part.
lottery. Yeah.
In addition to the lottery, then some of the top Dear Jack Foundation fundraisers for the year were invited, right? And I think you got a spot there, right?
Yes, I was
Okay.
actually, I think I was like 14 or 15 out
Yep.
of 15. So I
Yeah.
really just snuck in there and I was very pleased.
Yep. And my wife was another, and that's why I was able to get in because she was another one of those winners, and I was her guest.
Amazing.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how we ended up meeting, and then
Yeah.
we kind of saw each other around on the cruise from there.
Yeah, right. I
How,
had known you like because I had followed your podcast and
hmm
we're both sort of active like in the online communities. We definitely made it a point to like find each other at that event and be like we have to meet
Yeah.
and we took that horrible photo.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a good photo.
Once I fixed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Oh,
lighting
that
was
because
just
the
bad.
lighting. That's right.
Yeah.
The lighting in
Yeah.
that. Yeah, the lighting in
Yeah.
those rooms are not
Yeah. No, the
good.
photo
Yeah.
itself was good, but the lighting
Yeah.
was
Well, I
bad.
thought so too. Now, how long have you been fundraising for Dear Jack? Was that your first year or second year or?
Yeah, that was my first year. It was kind of accidental, actually. I am friendly with Lisa Nardi online, again, just
Mhm.
like through all of the like online communities. And I had said to her like early last summer that I had been thinking about starting a bonfire shop. I have my own Etsy shop, and for at least 10 years, I have been making designs for Dave Matthews Band in like a different online art community.
hmm
And I was like, I don't know why I don't do this for Andrew. And she was like, you should do it. And I wasn't quite ready. But by the time like June, July had come around, I was like, okay, stuff's just like coming out of me. Like I'm ready to go. Like,
Feeling
and I
inspired.
started making designs and it just sort of happened accidentally. Like I was like, I'm going to design the stuff and donate the money. And I feel very fortunate that people liked what I designed and they
hmm
were buying stuff. And so I ended up raising, I think just around $1,500, which like was super, super cool, like more than I ever imagined.
hmm
I was like, if a couple people buy stuff and like I donate $100, like that's great. And
Right.
it ended up like really taking off. And it's something that I love doing now and has really expanded beyond shirts and even beyond fundraising. I just, I'm posting stuff just for fun and whatever. And so, yeah, it'll be just 1 year coming up, which is crazy.
Very cool. I ordered some of your SoCo city themed stickers for
Thank
our
you.
group that I went to the shows with. So I
Yes.
got to go to 3 different shows as you probably know, and I bought some for each of those. But also some of the friends in that group went to other shows in other cities, so I kind of want to represent each of those.
Yeah,
So I
totally. I'm
bought a little
just about to
collection. But
start working on the stickers for the Made for Each Other tour for this summer. I have to get through one big project at work
mhm.
and then I can start focusing on the summer's tour. So stickers coming soon. You heard it here first.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I guess I didn't think about it, but that does make
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. So yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Well.
Tour starts in like 2 months.
I
Less.
know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
2 months from right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost exactly. I'll be at a show. I hope so.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
have already been through my first three. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to keep along the art path for a moment here. You started an online group, right? You started an online community for called the
Yeah.
Andrew McMahon Fan Art Collective. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Thank you for asking about that, actually. There are so many people in the online communities who are really talented creators and are fundraising for Dear Jack. And the options for us to share our work were, in my opinion, sort of limited. And so I had been looking for a place like what I have for Dave Matthews Band, where
hmm
there's just an online art community where everybody can share anything they make, whether it's a doodle or something you've crocheted or made from stained glass or whatever, that it had like a dedicated home and people could find it easily. And so I had this idea in my head and I had sort of talked to a few people about it and they weren't really into it. And so I was like, all right, I don't personally like have enough weight in this community to do this by myself.
hmm
And a couple months later on the Discord, this girl, Kat McIntyre, was like, I wish that there was a place, that we could just post our art. And I messaged her and was like, yes, let's do this. Like, are you interested? And we got to know each other a little bit, and we really were like on the same page. She has been fundraising for a really long time and is an incredible artist, just so immensely talented. And so we started putting our brains together to think about like what the best way to do this. And we were like, we need to figure out what Dear Jack would want. Like how, like we want to make sure that we're following their guidelines, their wishes, respecting Andrew and his brand and likeness and whatever. And so actually on the cruise, I introduced myself to Ryan Pettingill, and I sort of told him that we had this idea. And shortly after the cruise, we started chatting, and we met quite a few times to sort of talk about how it would work best for Dear Jack, how we could make sure the most money is getting to them, and that we were being respectful over Andrew's work. Like, right? I mean, all these lyrics.
Yeah, like you said, his likeness, his lyrics, his
Yeah,
logos. Yeah.
right. So we really worked with them to make sure that we were on the same page, and he was really excited to partner with us, and things didn't quite line up timing wise for us to have him totally partner with us, but Dear Jack is 100% like behind the group. They're aware of it, they support it, they know every move that we make. And Kat and I are actually working with Ryan to make things more accessible for artists and give more opportunities and raise more money for Dear Jack this year. So there's some really cool stuff that we're hoping will be announced soon.
Cool. Well, glad to hear that. Sounds exciting.
Yes, I'm super excited. And the group is flourishing. We are about 330 members now, and people are definitely becoming more active in it, and it's really fun to see like what everybody's creating, because everybody has such different styles, and Kat and I both really feel like there's room for everybody at the table, and we want everybody to have like a safe space where they aren't feeling judged and they feel like they can show their art and be proud of it and get feedback on it and have other Andrew fans be just as excited as they are. So that's really the whole point of the collective.
I wish I had some kind of artistic talent, but I do like watching the group, being a member of the group, so that I can see what's being made, and there are some cool things coming out of it. So
Kat posted some. She does these really cool embroidery, like digital embroidery things, and she's been working on some patches and stuff. So everybody, come check it out. It's the Andrew McMahon Fan Art Collective.
Yeah.
Please join us. Yeah, we're happy to have everybody.
Yeah, I'd recommend it because, like I said, I like looking at the artwork that's being created and the different things you guys are doing. So
thank you.
It's fun. It's a fun vibe. So how did you come into the fandom yourself? So was there like a moment you found Andrew's music? Did someone introduce you to it? How did that all happen?
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember the exact moment I heard Something Corporate for the first time. In high school and going into college, I was very into like the Warped Tour scene. I loved New Found Glory and Saves the Day and MXPX and all those sort of pop punk bands, obviously Blink-182, and decorated my dorm room accordingly. And I remember the girl who lived next door to me my freshman year, it had to be like August 2002. She was like, I have to play you the most beautiful song you'll ever hear. And obviously it was Constantine, and I sat with her for 10 minutes, and when we were done, I was like, that is the most beautiful song I've ever heard.
Wow, first time through you thought that, huh?
Yeah, it was just
cool.
magical. It was so beautiful, just like touched me and my soul, like the piano and how quiet and like kind of haunting it was. And I was like, this is it. But I was like, also like, I don't understand why you would have thought that I would like this, but like but she knew like that I would have loved the rest of what Something Corporate was about, because I feel like Constantine is not a total anomaly, but it's
different. Yeah, it's different from the majority of his songs, for sure.
And
it's not like he writes a bunch of 10-minute ballads.
Right. And I went on Napster because that's what I had at the time, even though my college was like, if we catch you, we'll expel you. And
really? They took
yeah.
a stance on that?
Oh, yeah. We were terrified. There were like always rumors going around about this person got expelled, but it was fine. I never got expelled. And I downloaded a few songs here and there, but then my sophomore year, first semester, I moved into my sorority house, and there was a girl there. Her name was Jen, and she was also like into a lot of the same music, and it came up somehow, and she burned me the seat. She burned me leaving through the window.
Hmm.
And so then I had a complete set. From there, we went on. She burned me a copy of North, and we just got hooked. She and I drove. I can't remember where. I wish I could remember for the life of me. It kills me. But I went to Syracuse in upstate New York, and we drove to some like little sketchy bar to see something corporate play, and I can't find a single photo, which is so unlike me because I am like the historian. Like, I take photos of everything, I keep everything. Can't find a single photo from that show.
Even way back then, huh? Because I have no
Yeah,
concert photos pre like 2008, if that.
tons. Yep, I keep scrapbooks of everything
Yeah.
and meticulously labeled every photo that I have, probably from like 2000 up until I started using an iPhone. Dated, capped, like have descriptions, names, tagged. I mean, everything is, I can find anything for whenever, except for this something corporate show.
And you're sure the show happened? There's a reason I'm asking. You're
100% sure the
Okay.
show happened. We were like pretty close to the front. I remember Andrew like jumping on his piano. I was like, this is something I've never seen before in my life. And I remember catching his red Solo cup at the end of the night and being like, oh my God, I'm going to keep this forever. And then literally being like, I don't need this. And I have a sweatshirt from the show that I still wear, that I wore actually recently to something, and Andrew was like, your sweatshirt's in really good shape, and I was like, probably because I haven't worn it in 20 years, but
Hmm.
no, it definitely happened. My friends and I actually spent a while recently like on Setlist FM trying to figure out what it was or where it was and when it was. I was like, it had to have been like 2003, 2004.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the reason I ask is just it's funny to me because when I was trying to collect all my concert history years ago, probably
Mm.
around the pandemic, and I was going back through physical concert tickets, and I was looking in my live journal too to look,
Uh-huh.
and I would do searches for bands or like concert, whenever I mentioned the word concert, and I said in one of my journal entries, I said I'm going to Jack's Mannequin next week in Baltimore, and that was when I lived in Maryland. And I could not find a single instance, record, or anything of a Baltimore show that month. And I'm like, why
Huh.
did I think Jack's Mannequin was going to be? And apparently, I couldn't have gone because it didn't happen. So why
Maybe
did
it
I
wasn't in
think
Baltimore. Like, could it have been like at a local college or something? And it was like in a,
I would have remembered that, or
yeah. Huh.
but regardless, I thought I was going to a Jack's Mannequin show, and I didn't. I would remember if I went, and that was in like 2008, and then I did go to one in 2009 though in Baltimore,
Yeah.
and I know that. So it was just really weird.
Super weird.
It's like you got to rely on certain things,
Yeah.
including your own memory. And if
Right.
your own memory fails you, then it's
I
like, okay, what do
know.
I have? Live journal and concert ticket
I
stubs.
should go through my live journal. I went through my concert ticket stubs. I actually used to collage them all. So I
Hmm.
have almost they're if they're not on a collage, I have like a memory box. And so I
Hmm.
went through both, and I found a lot of tickets for shows I don't remember going to. I was like,
I
"Oh,
did
okay."
too. Yep.
But no stub for it, like nothing. My sweatshirt is my only proof that it really happened.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I probably went to 100 or so concerts that I have no picture, video,
Crazy.
T-shirt, any
Yeah.
sticker, anything, like, because I didn't always buy merch and I didn't
Right.
take video or pictures back then.
Right.
So
Especially
yes,
as a college student, I'm sure I had a limited budget. I'm sure that sweatshirt
right,
was a splurge.
yeah,
But yeah.
yep.
But
And I
yeah,
had so
that's
many band T-shirts back then that I had to cut off somewhere. All
yeah.
right, well, let's talk about this song. So you kind of alluded to it earlier with your early on in life career choice, potential career choice. So, in my opinion, we chose a something corporate song that's to me a classic.
Agreed.
It was one of the first songs I ever heard from them when I started downloading music. So just like you, I was getting music from Napster, LimeWire, or wherever.
Yeah.
And just like you, by the way, I found something corporate in August 2002. Differently, I was at the Warp Tour, and I think it was the last Warp Tour of the season, and it was in Detroit. And I saw them, and I was like, okay, I got to download everything I can possibly find by these guys. And I came across this song. And I would get confused sometimes on which album it was on because back then I was getting stuff from Leaving Through the Window and then random stuff that I didn't at the time didn't know where it came from.
Yes.
So I had to like go online and find somewhere, and it was a little harder back then to find somewhere that would list out the tracks
Yeah.
on the CD. And the only CD I knew was Leaving Through the Window. So
Same.
I found out, which track it was, and and so like you, I had a burned CD of Leaving Through the Window,
Yep.
but some of those songs on there, not this one, but some of them were like older versions
Yep.
from the
Totally
prior
same.
albums. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like there wasn't a consistent quality, but that was the
Sounds
way
exactly right
MP3s
for
were. Yeah,
2002.
exactly.
I find that everything like blurs together, that I don't know which songs, something corporate only, but which
Hmm.
songs come from which album, because I did
Okay.
just get everything at the same time and just threw it all on my iPod, so I don't know even like for a long time I didn't even know what songs were called. Like I could tell you all of the lyrics,
Oh,
but I
same.
don't know which
Yeah.
songs go with which albums. And I have been doing these album doodles lately, like just sort of
Hmm.
like mindless.
I love them, by the
Thank
way.
you. But I was like, oh, okay. So like this song, I was like, oh, Straw Dog is on both albums. Like, like I'm still sort of putting the pieces together 20 years, 20, 30 years later, whatever it is, that I'm like, oh, okay. Like I still don't know which one goes with which. Like people are like, which one's your favorite? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that would make it really clear the ones that were repeated because now you've doodled them twice in some
Right.
cases. So, yeah,
Right. Yep. 100%. I was like,
yeah.
oh, okay. Or like, I was like, I didn't realize like Constantine was never really released on an album. Like,
Hmm.
I've learned so much from my little doodles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. Yeah, I highly recommend going and checking out Ariel's doodles. They're a lot of fun.
Thank
It
you.
looks, I think you can buy a print, right, on your Etsy shop. Is that
Yes,
right?
you can. Yep. I sell the prints of the doodles. I have band doodles. They're on my Redbubble shop. And everything, 100% of my Redbubble shop proceeds go to the Dear Jack Foundation. So you can buy like stickers, prints.
So if I bought all of the albums of your doodles,
Hmm.
it wouldn't make a rectangle or square though. That's the problem
It
right
makes
now.
a
We
pyramid.
yeah, we need another Andrew album to,
Yeah, well,
even it out. But
actually, I had posted this to the Discord, and Brian Bonner helped me figure out. But all of the albums make a very nice pyramid. So there's one option where you can buy the full pyramid, and then also I put them into a repeat
hmm.
and put them on some like really fun products like leggings or skirts or dresses and stuff, so you could wear like a full Andrew outfit if you wanted
Oh my
to.
gosh, I'll have to check that
Yeah,
out. Hey,
we might do it for Red Rocks. I was like, maybe I'll get like the dress or something. It could be cute. We'll see. But
there you
yeah,
go. Yeah, I was gonna say cruise wear incoming, but yeah,
right? Big for
Red Rocks
sure.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. But yeah, they're there. All the doodles are there. The band doodles are there.
this song that we're gonna talk about tonight, I was gonna say that it may be the first space specific references in his music, but I'd be wrong to say that because Straw Dog mentions the moon. You already brought up Constantine mentions the stars. But arguably, I guess this one has the more direct
Yeah.
references, and the song we're going to talk about is The Astronaut. So, which technically you've already said the name of earlier when you're talking about potential career choices. So,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, but that's okay. So, I want to hear more about that, by the way. The band is something corporate, of course. The song originally appeared as track 5 on Leaving Through the Window, which we've been talking about. That album was released on May 21st, 2002. The song also appeared 8 years later on the Played in Space compilation as the final track on disc 1, track 14. Arielle, do you know why the greatest hits or that compilation was called Played in Space? Have you ever heard this before?
No, I've always wondered. Do you know?
So, according to Wikipedia, which I think it does link out to an actual reference point, so I do believe it. But I've read that it's a reference to the fact that NASA Control on Earth played the song The Astronaut by something corporate
Stop it.
as a wake up call to the astronauts in 2006.
File that
So,
under, you know how we have like a list going of interesting questions we always mean to ask Andrew?
yeah,
Let's add that to our list.
I know. Like, how did that happen? I mean, did they reach out to him? Was it just like they found it? Did they have to get permission? I don't
I
know.
feel like NASA could probably do whatever they want, but
Probably.
that's cool.
Yeah. So this song was technically played in space.
I could have
So
heard it if my astronaut dreams had come through.
you could, yeah, yeah. Although I don't know if you're old enough to have been an astronaut in space in 2006, so
That's true. No,
you might have
definitely
missed
not.
it. Yeah, you might have been still in training there.
Yeah.
Is that when you first came across this song when you were downloading music in 2002? Is that when you first
My
came
friend
across this
Jen
one?
gave me these CDs. She burned me,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, both those CDs, and they went right on my iPod, along with everything else. And, that I listened to. I don't recall like ever listening to one song more than another.
Was this song, so when you heard this song or when you found out the name, did it harken back to like you wanting to be an astronaut as you were young? Because I want to touch back to that. So you wanted to be an astronaut. Like, did you make that connection with this song, or was that not the connection at all with
I
this song?
don't think so.
Okay.
I don't specifically remember, but I have always found space incredibly interesting. Like anytime we had a science report to do in school, I would do something about space. Like I have always thought the universe as a whole is incredibly fascinating and I think like probably controls a lot more than like we think, which is like a whole different podcast in its own, right?
Right.
But my bat mitzvah theme actually was outer space. I have like every table is a different planet, and I feel really strongly about astrology. And so space has always just been something that resonates with me. And obviously, also with Andrew, there's so many references to space and the
Oh yeah.
astronaut and stars and the planets. And
Either way, you and Andrew definitely have that in common, the
yeah,
fascination with space
yeah,
and the
for
references to
sure.
space and that being a theme in his life.
Yeah,
I see that in his lyrics, obviously.
for sure.
I'm going to talk about a few production notes here. So the song was produced by Jim Wirt. Performers on the track include Andrew on piano and vocals, not surprisingly, Josh and William on guitars, Kevin on bass, and Brian on the drums. This was not a song on one of those prior releases that we referred to earlier. So this was not
Hmm.
on Ready Break. It
Right.
wasn't part of the Galaxy Sessions demos. It wasn't on Audio Boxer. Although sometimes I get it confused, and I think it was on one of those. And I did have to check, even before this recording for my notes, I had to check. And can you believe it? And I mentioned this to you before our recording. I must be getting this song confused with Kavanaugh Park somehow. Why do I get those two songs confused? They sound nothing alike, do they?
No, nothing alike.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would have to go through and like look, like really like investigate the lyrics for Kavanaugh Park because on the spot, and my brain has like kind of turned off for the day. I can't figure that out, but your brain connects things differently the same way mine does. It's just the way you think.
Right. I've mentioned this on the show before, but my brain wants to put Andrew songs in buckets, and sometimes they're in pairs.
Yeah.
And so I think I brought this up years ago regarding High Dive and Canyon Moon, two songs from the same album that really don't sound anything alike, but I used to confuse them.
Yeah.
At one point when I first couple years I heard that album, I loved both songs, but I would just, it was hard to think of which song was which in my mind. And I think I did the same thing with Kavanaugh Park and Astronaut. And the only thing I can think of besides the fact that they're on the same album is that the verses are slower, so the
Mm,
way he sings the verses are kind of slow, and it's more ballad-y in the verses for each song,
sure.
whereas the rest of the album is pretty high energy. And so
Yeah.
that's the only thing except for Globes and Maps, of course, but until you get to the end. But I think those mid-album like ballady verse tracks, maybe, I
Right.
don't know. I don't
Like
know
I
where
could
that
see
comes
getting
from.
globes and maps and Kavanaugh Park confused because
Oh
like
yeah, see, I wouldn't put those together at all.
those
No.
like to me, I was gonna bring this up later when we talk about the album, but hot take, Globes and Maps is one of my least favorite Andrew songs.
Oh wow.
I
Oh, I love
know.
that song.
Unpopular opinion, I think, but
Unpopular with me for sure. I don't know how
yeah.
the rest of the fan base thinks, but
Canyon Moon is my favorite Andrew song though.
okay.
And I also love High Dive. And I can see maybe they evoke some of the same feelings for you, just like kind of joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Joy, energy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas Astronaut in Kavanaugh Park.
not the same.
Yeah. No, no. Opposite of the others, but maybe a similar feeling between those two. Actually, I'll touch on that topic when we get to live shows.
Yeah,
Something I thought of when I saw those songs performed live, but we'll come back to that. So Andrew shared this story at several concerts. You may have heard this before, Arielle,
sure.
but he said that when they came into the studio to record this song, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were recording in the room next door, and he is
Yes.
a huge Tom Petty fan, still is, and he felt really inspired in that moment, knowing that he was recording only steps away from one of his heroes. I looked at Tom Petty's discography to make sure, and it looks like he must have been recording songs for the album The Last DJ, which was released later that year in 2002. I'm not a huge Tom Petty fan, so like not to the point where I've ever listened to many full albums of his, just a couple, probably
Same.
two. So I don't know that album, but I don't know. Maybe that's a reason to go back and listen
Yeah.
to it. It was recorded in the same space where this album was being recorded. So
That is so cool. I have heard that story,
hmm
and I always just feel like that must have been just so immensely special for Andrew. You know, something corporate was like really doing their thing, really on their uphill climb, and to be in the same studio like with your sort of musical hero must have just been so
Unreal.
special. Yeah,
Really.
right? Like what am I doing here? When
Yeah.
Tom Petty's next door. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of those surreal moments where it's like, is this real life? Like I'm recording with with my band
Right.
next door to Tom Petty, and he's like
Right.
walking by.
Right.
So
I
it's
can't
crazy.
imagine how hard it must have been to like not compare yourself or judge yourself
Yeah.
or it
Or
must
walk
have,
over there and be like, "Hi, Tom Petty,"
right, I love
like
you.
yeah, because I don't think they ever met, is how the story goes. But
Did they
yeah,
talk about that? Remember we did that Camp Wilderness Zoom a couple of weeks ago or like a couple months ago maybe at this point, and was Bobby telling a story? Was it Tom Petty about the elevator or was it someone else?
no, I think it was someone
Oh,
else. I
okay.
I know what you're referring to. I don't know
Yeah.
the exact
Okay.
story, but I'm no, it was someone that Bobby was
Yeah.
enamored by.
Okay.
I don't remember who the musician was,
Neither.
but
Yeah. But
they were
it's
talking about
like
embarrassing moments when they met their idols or
right. I don't
something.
know that like I would be able to like be cool if like my hero was like in the next room.
Have you ever met, besides Andrew and anybody related to Andrew, have you ever gotten to meet someone that is like a musical hero of yours?
A couple times, yeah. So I love Third Eye Blind. I can never decide if I love Third Eye Blind more or equally or less than Andrew. Like I'm always like I don't know which one's one and which one's two, so I always just kind of say they're equal. But I've met Stephen Jenkins a bunch of times.
Cool.
I never know what to say to him. But Gwen Stefani, not just musically, but like her full embodiment of everything. She's always been like my guiding star. Not so much like the last few years, but
Hmm.
growing up, especially like in fashion school and everything, like she was such an inspiration to me.
Yeah.
And
She was a fashion icon.
oh my God, she still is. She is just the coolest. And New York City used to do this thing called Fashion Night Out, and it was like a
Hmm.
fundraiser kind of, I don't even remember for what, but and they don't do it anymore, but it was like in the like late 2000s, like early 2010s, and all these like designers and celebrities and stuff would be all over the city and you could try to meet them or try to get to go to these events. And I remember I was with a friend at the time and we were out for dinner and we were planning on going to this event at Macy's. And I saw on Twitter that Gwen Stefani was at Bloomingdale's and like you could go and buy a bottle of perfume and have her sign it and
Oh,
meet
wow.
her. And I literally made her leave dinner. I was like, we have to go now. Like we left the money on the table and ran. And I was like, I'm not missing this. Like under no circumstance. And we got there. I barely remember what happened. I bought a bottle of perfume and I happened to have a magazine with her on the cover in my bag. And I got the perfume signed and the magazine signed. And I don't know what I said to her. I cried. And I just remember like afterwards being like, I can't believe that was real. She was stunning. I mean, just like so beautiful.
Hmm.
And it was just like the coolest. Before I graduated fashion school, I would call or fax them almost weekly and like send my resume and be like, please, please hire me. Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I've been able to meet a couple of musicians that I really enjoy. Nothing too crazy, but the most I guess memorable where it was very intimidating and I didn't know what to say. I don't know what the heck I said to her.
Mm.
It's ironically the only time I've ever paid for VIP. I've never done VIP with Andrew. I
Oh, it's
haven't.
fun. You should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I should. I know. I
Yeah.
should.
Sound
I
check's
don't
cool.
just haven't. It's the problem is usually that it's a weekday and it's like 2 o'clock and I
Yeah.
work and so like on the
Yeah.
shows I'm going to. So that's a big part of it. But I did pay for VIP for Jewel back
Oh,
in 2002. I don't know. It might have been
cool.
right around the same era we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And so basically it was one of those where you stand in line, probably similar with Andrew. You stand in line and you get to take a picture, but it's probably just that I didn't know what to say because the couple in front of me talked to her.
Yeah.
But it was like, I think it was up to me to say something. And I was like, hi. And we
Hi.
turned it to have a picture. Thank you. And I
Yeah.
walked away. And I was like,
Oh
I didn't
no.
talk to her at all.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say anything. But I have this picture of us.
That's cool. That's so cool.
And it's really nice because the venue was like on a lake. And the
Oh
lake's in
no.
the, and they did it out by the lake. So I got a picture of us standing in front of the lake together.
That's
So it was
cool.
pretty cool.
She always seems like she would give off like very magical, calming energy. I don't
She
know.
was really
She seems
chill.
cool. Yeah.
She was like, hi. She's like
Hi.
smiling, hi. And I was like so intimidated. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast before, but I was a huge, I still am a Jewel fan. I was a huge Jewel fan in the 90s, early 2000s. Like, saw her a few times in concert or whatever. I was just like, I'm going to meet Jewel one day. And that was how it turned out. And I was like, oh, I didn't say
You
anything,
gotta check
whatever.
those
But
boxes.
I checked the box and I got the picture. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm good. Like I was so incredibly intimidated and I probably was similar with Andrew the first time I met him.
I realized last year that like I never remember to tell him my name ever. And so we waited for him after the Boston show last summer, and he, comes out and does his thing, and I said to him, I was like, I never remember to tell you my name. And I think at this point he recognizes me.
I think so. He's got a pretty good memory for people.
Yeah, like right. I've talked to like his manager before, and he's like, he remembers thousands of faces. He's not always good
He
with
does.
names, but and so I was like, I was like, today I'm gonna tell you my name.
So you did?
Yeah, and I was like, hi. I was like, I'm Arielle, and he was like, hi, I'm Andrew. And I was like, yeah,
Got that out of the way about the eighth time. Okay.
right, right. I was like, I know this is so stupid, but I was like, I just felt like you needed to know my name. Like, it's just so stupid.
I've talked to other fans about that. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't know if he remembers us, but like, cool if he does, cool if he doesn't. It doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
he sees thousands of people across the United States, so
Right,
it's totally cool.
100%. I have no
Yeah.
expectations.
Yeah. No.
I couldn't tell if he was like kidding or he's just so humble that like he literally was like, nice to meet you, I'm Andrew. But
Yeah.
because he's just so nice, he would never
Yeah.
ever like assume that you would know who he was ever.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I was like, that's funny.
Let's talk about live shows because you love to go see Andrew in concert. I love to go see Andrew in concert. So I want to hear more about that. So first, I want to tell you that according to Setlist FM, this song's been played live 144 times total, which
God.
I would say is on the higher end, not the high end of songs played live by Andrew. 64 of them were with something corporate. That number kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
2 with Jack's Mannequin, even more surprising. That's just weird to
I
me.
would have guessed none. Yeah.
I would have guessed none because most of the SoCo stuff is none. There's a few outliers, and this is one of them.
Huh.
And then 33 by Andrew solo and 45 by The Wilderness. But again, I would have thought the number would be higher, I guess, by some of those. But
Yeah. I for sure would have guessed the wilderness number would have been higher.
and this is only as this data is only as good as Setlist FM and
Sure.
the people who enter that info. So we're missing all the earlier stuff like 2000, 2001,
Mm,
2002. Like there's a lot of stuff missing in the beginning. I
you gotta
know that
ask
much.
Wayne.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't think they played it at Blaine's birthday party. Yeah. I don't think this song was like complete by then.
That's so funny.
This song definitely was a staple in the SoCo shows, the SoCo tour that we saw last year. I know we saw it on the cruise. It wasn't played every single night, but it was played. I feel like it was played most nights. Like last summer, I got to go to Four Chord Fest. They did not play it there, but they did play it all 3 nights I saw them in September. And like I said, they played it on the cruise. So I know we're seeing Jack's Mannequin this year, and we're most likely not going to see the Astronaut, and
No.
we probably don't want to. We want to see the Jack stuff.
Yeah.
But if Andrew is touring with SoCo or The Wilderness, is this a song you want to see live?
It's certainly one that I would not complain about seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are for sure some songs that I like better than
Mm-hmm.
others, but I think
That's fair.
yeah, this song is like super fun live. It's a good one for Andrew to like get up and move around. And that's sort of what stands out to me, like when I think about this song live. Like, I think, look, I'm at the rail a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when I think about this song, I really think about him like coming up to the rail and like sort of standing over me or like standing, nearby, and like I can see him leaning into the crowd and really like getting involved and singing this song and like, sort of he does such a good job like using the stage. I can picture him like running, also like in the same vein of like Hurricane, right? Like I can
Mm-hmm.
sort of see him doing his stage thing during the Astronaut.
When I saw something corporate live the first time in many, many years, it was in Las Vegas for that House of Blues show.
Mm-hmm.
That was before When We Were Young festival.
Yep.
And they were playing all the bangers. They were playing, I think leading into the song was like Only Ashes and Hurricane and like all the really hard hitting guitar driven songs. And then suddenly it kind of dropped out and then the Astronaut started. And I remember being like, oh no. And I think it was just in that moment I was like, oh no, I wanted the energy to keep going. Like I
Yeah,
wanted that like high energy. And I know that he's very intentional with the set list, as all
yeah,
artists are. I think it was to bring the energy down
yeah.
and kind of give everybody a break because like you can only go so hard so long.
Sure.
So I think
For
that was
them
the intent.
too.
Yeah, for them too. Good point.
It is a piano heavy song, and I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah, because that intro is like, it's kind of that reverby
Yeah,
piano or guitar, and then the light piano, and then it's kind of, and then it does become a rock song
yeah,
during the chorus, so it kind
chorus,
of comes
right.
back up. And I feel bad saying that because I like the song, but I feel like the energy dropped off when they
Yeah.
played that in Vegas, and I don't know that I necessarily felt that way the other times I've seen it live. I just remember like I was like radiating with energy in that show. It was like something I've rarely experienced in a concert. It was one of my favorite concerts of all time.
Yeah.
I think it just hit me wrong in that moment.
Huh.
But unfortunately, that's the live experience I remember with that. Oh, it's like time to slow down. Okay, time to take a break.
Yeah. Huh.
Whereas I do like the song on the album,
Yeah.
maybe more than I like it live, which is not something I always say, by the way, on this show.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if I like it better live or on the album. I would have to think about that. I for sure love the album version.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, those couple shows like at the end of what was it, 2023. So like
Hmm.
the When We Were Young pre-show, When We Were Young, and then they did those two like Anaheim New Year shows. Felt like those were so special that like anything they played was just like magical to me. Like I
Right.
was like, this is never gonna happen again.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't know we were
I
getting
was
a full
so sure of
tour.
it, right? Like I flew out to Anaheim for those New Year shows. Like my birthday is actually New Year's Eve, so like that night was just so special to me, and like that's what really sticks in my head. Is like Andrew in his suspenders, like in his little tuxedo outfit, like at the piano. Like we didn't know a whole tour was coming, so
Right. All we knew it was that the trifecta was playing somewhere in a year because they
yeah.
put that barcode up, and that was all we knew at the time. So,
So and like who knew what that was or when it was gonna or if I'd be able to go to it, So
right.
like my brother got married last year and so there was a lot of like, what if it's during his wedding and I can't go? So I was like, I
Oh,
have
that's a
to
non-negotiable. You
right,
can't miss your
right. So I was
brother's
like, I
wedding.
have to
Yeah.
go to these shows. I can't miss it. Like this
Yeah, I loved that show overall. I don't know. I was ready for that energy to keep like
yeah,
climbing
keep
and
going.
climbing, and I don't know if you can get any higher than like Only Ashes, but like I feel
Ah,
I could be wrong in this set list. I'm just going from memory. I feel like it was after Only Ashes, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I'm radiating right now. And
yeah.
then
So
it's not a
funny.
ballad, but like it slows it
No.
down for sure.
So Dave Matthews Band has an app, like fan created, called DMB Hub, and one of the features for it, so you can mark the show that you've gone to, and you can sort of like rate how you felt during each song, and it is really interesting to see, like, Crush, like way down. Like certain songs, you're just like,
Huh.
not, like people were obviously not feeling it, and it's. I always
Wow.
wish that like somebody would create this app for Andrew or for like music in general because it keeps track of like the shows that you went to and how many other people were there and where they came from and
Mm-hmm.
it does all of the like
And you
stats and
can rate
tracking.
each individual track they played.
Yeah, you can like yourself be like I felt like a 10 during this one and a 4 during this one and
Oh, that would be super interesting to me.
yeah, it'll tell you like you personally how many times you've heard each song, like what percentage of each album you've heard, like if you're missing songs from an album, like what songs you're chasing. Like it's a really cool app and I wish somebody would make it for Andrew because I care a lot more about Andrew.
Yeah. We need an app creator in the fan base now. I feel like we have a lot of talent in the fan base in different facets, but maybe that's one thing we're missing.
Yeah,
I
we'll
don't
have
know.
to put out a posting, a job posting.
Yeah, put out the call to the fan
Yeah,
base.
because it
Like,
is. It's
who's an
really
app creator?
interesting to see like how different songs affect different people.
Yeah, no, I will say I felt similarly about Kavanaugh Park. Love Kavanaugh Park. And sometimes I want to hear that, especially when it's just Andrew on a piano.
Yeah,
Magical. I've seen that a
sure.
couple times. But with the full band, take it or leave it.
Doesn't do it for me. I don't love the slower songs. Obviously Constantine is just a masterpiece, but like I'm okay with it for now. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
I would much rather hear Only Ashes or The Astronaut or High Dive, right? Like
Okay.
something a little more joyful. It's just my
Yeah.
personal preference. I'm sure it's not necessarily a popular opinion, but like I don't ever want to hear globes and maps. Like
Well, ironically, my favorite Something Corporate song, some people do consider a slow song.
what?
And it's funny, I remember this conversation now. It was after the Vegas show. It was Lindsay. I told her about what I just told you about Astronaut. I was like, I feel like the energy dropped when they played Astronaut. She's like, I know, like when they played As You Sleep. And I was like, As You
Oh.
Sleep? Like, I love that song. I was like, yes, it's my favorite song. Thank you for playing it. So, but yeah, that's a slower song. So some
Yeah.
people feel the way about that one that I felt about the Astronaut.
Yeah,
Interesting.
a little
So,
moodier. And but like that's like what makes music so great, right? Or like
right.
that's, I say that about art all the time. Like all these things are personal choices and there's no
Hmm.
right or wrong answer. And that's like why it's so cool because everybody can love
Yeah.
something different. And you go to a show and hopefully everybody gets to hear what they want to hear and everybody walks away happy
Yeah.
for different reasons, but
Right.
same end result.
Oh, I completely agree. So I know you have plans to see Jack's Mannequin. We've alluded to it a little bit.
Sure do.
We're both going to see Jack's Mannequin this year. You said 2 months from now you have already seen 3 shows. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to guess you're going to the first 3 shows of the tour or
Well,
something like
so
that.
the first show is Portland, which I'm not going to, Portland, Maine, only
Okay.
because it's a weeknight and it's about 2 hours from me, which is just like a little too far
Hmm.
for me to do there and back on a weeknight, especially by myself. I don't think I could convince any of my local Andrew friends to make that trip with me. So I'm not doing Portland, which is the Thursday. But then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm doing Boston, New York, Philly.
Wow.
Yeah, I did it last year. It was so, well, actually, last year I only did, no, last year it was Brooklyn, Manhattan, Philly. The
Hmm.
Boston show was later in the tour last year. But doing the 3 shows in a row like that was so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
Can't wait to do it again. And it's so easy to get around, like the Northeast. Like I'll take the train. The train is like 20 minutes from my house here. I'll stay overnight. I'm gonna have one or two friends like stay with me in New York, and then we'll take the train to Philly the next morning. And then we haven't decided if we're gonna stay in Philly or go back to New York that night. Because again, like you can just take the train back after the show. So we'll see. And then I'm also doing Anaheim and Del Mar in November. I have a good
Okay.
friend who lives in California, and so we'll go to those shows. My friend Katie lives out there, and then my friend Jess lives in Arizona, so she'll come meet us there. And then I have a ticket for the Cleveland show because I do have a couple of friends who like live nearby there, and I was like, oh, it'd be nice to see them. But I'm not 100% sure. We'll sort of see how I feel. It's later. I think it's in October, and I was sort of like, it's a good,
That's a Saturday and it's the first Saturday in November. I
yeah,
because of when, what that conflicts with for my family plans,
right.
but
Having the shows on a weekend makes such a difference, I think, for like people
yeah,
in our age range because
definitely.
it does make it so much easier to like not have to take off work or I'm not tired or like
Right.
you don't have to arrange child. Well, you still have to find a babysitter, but like it's much
Yeah.
easier to like find a babysitter on a Saturday night than it is like on a Thursday night or whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And then obviously I'm going to Red Rocks. I wouldn't miss that for anything.
Hmm.
So yeah, I have 5 shows.
Cool.
I've never been to Colorado actually, so my friends and I were gonna sort of make like a trip of it and like spend an extra couple days and a good time to take a little vacation. I'm not super busy during the summer at work, so
Wow, you will see. So you'll see Jax, if I'm counting five,
6. Yep.
seven potentially, but definitely 6 times this year.
Definitely 6 times. So 5 made for each other shows plus Red Rocks is
Hmm.
6, and if I go to Cleveland, it's
Maybe
7.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, that's wild. So,
yeah,
yeah, I'll see Detroit and Columbus in the fall. I'll have to wait a while for that
yeah.
in November, but then Pittsburgh in June. So I will be avoiding your set list, anything mentions of a
Okay,
set list or videos or pictures that you're
noted.
posting on your Instagram.
I never thought about that, about like spoilers.
I don't like to know what they're going to play. And so even though it will change slightly night to night, now November I'll have I'll have to look at people's videos and set lists
Yeah.
for the November shows because there's so much time. For the Pittsburgh show in June, I will avoid them like the plague that week leading
Yeah,
into it.
that'll
So
be
we'll see how
easy.
that works out.
I'm curious what the set lists are going to be like. I think there was so much speculation that it might be like an Everything in Transit 20-year tour, and we know that
Hmm.
it's not going to be, and he's really said it's going to be a mix. I wonder what percentage is going to be everything in transit. It sounds like a lot. It sounds like it's going to be a higher percentage.
I would guess 50 to 75% of the album
Yeah.
will be, of the Everything in Transit album. And then, I don't know, 8 to 10 tracks that aren't Everything in
Yeah.
Transit is my bet. But
We'll
I'm
see.
just guessing.
Yeah. It's a good guess.
Yeah, we have a little bit of data to go off of, though, to be fair. Like, I know what they played in California, and I know what they played at Innings
Sure.
Fest. So,
Right. And he said, on some of those Camp Wilderness like calls and stuff that like we could expect to hear, especially if we hit multiple shows, like probably everything in transit in its entirety,
yeah.
and
And
then
then
good amounts of everything else.
even some B-sides, maybe, he said.
There
Maybe.
better be.
Yeah, I know. You're like me and a lot of fans. We're chasing those songs we haven't heard yet. So
Yep, I'm ready. Let's
yeah,
go. Whatever it is, I'm always just like thankful to be there. If
yeah,
we need a
right.
same set list
Me
every
too.
night and I wouldn't care and I would still go 6 or 7 times and
Yeah, I'm not even gonna put out requests, so to speak. I'm just gonna
no.
be like, whatever we
Happy.
get is cool.
Yeah.
Obviously there's songs I want to hear, there's songs I'm chasing, but it's
Yeah.
like I
Yep.
will be smiling when I leave the venue, no matter
100%.
what they play.
And that's the way it should be. It's like so hard to explain. Like you and I talked about this a little bit, when we were talking about which song to do for the podcast. And like I personally don't have any specific connections to any like individual songs. Like I just love his music as a whole, like in general.
Hmm.
It just evokes so much joy for me. Like I'm always so happy at the end of a show. I'm always like I almost never skip over his songs when they come on like my Spotify. It's just like something I always want to listen to. And I know so many people like swim help them get through hard times, right? Or breakup songs or whatever. And it just like I don't have that. And I always am like I've always felt kind of
Like you don't have ace quote a song.
right. Like yeah, like
Huh.
I like there's
Interesting.
no like song lyrics I would get tattooed. Not that I would ever get a tattoo, Dad, if you're listening. But
Well,
like
you're like me then because I'm
yeah,
tattoo list and I probably
yeah.
will always be.
But so I've always sort of, I have favorite songs for sure, but I don't have any that like have special personal meanings to me. And it's just really like the music as a whole. And Andrew being Andrew
Hmm.
makes such a difference to that too.
It
Like
does.
where he is so accessible and he is so kind and generous with his time that it's just more of an experience for me, I think, than like a specific instance or a memory. I don't know.
Hmm. That is interesting though, because yeah, most people will say, "Well, I have these really specific songs in mind," and you were
Yeah.
like, "I'll talk about some songs." So I threw some out there, and you're like, "Yeah, let's talk about that one."
Yeah. Right? Like,
Yeah,
right.
which is pretty unique for this podcast.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even if the tables were turned and someone asked me which song would you want to talk about, I'd probably have real specific songs that I would talk about.
Yeah. I mean, sure, there are like favorite songs, right? Like
Sure.
I could tell you like each of my band, each one of his bands, I have a favorite or a least favorite, but like for no particular reason other than like I love listening to that song. Like it
Sure.
sounds the best to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
makes
just
you feel a certain way, sounds the best, you like the
right.
lyric, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, but there's no like, I think I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I've always felt like that was like weird. Like everybody's like, no, this got me through such hard times. Like I want to tell him, or like actually, I wanted to mention this project that we're working on with the Art Collective, and we welcome everybody to partake in it. But where Kat and I are putting together a package for Andrew to deliver to him when we
Hmm.
go to New York, and we're hoping people will like write letters or send in pictures or art about like why he means so much to them or like what got them into his music or how they've helped him through a hard time. And I've gotten some like really interesting responses. Obviously I'm not reading the letters that people send, but like
Sure.
when they message me to say like, oh my god, yes, like I've always wanted to tell him XYZ, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't have that. Like
There's been people on this podcast, guests on this podcast, that have said that. So I do know at least one, if not two people have said, like, I've always wanted to be able to tell him this, and that would be a good opportunity, huh?
yes, please. Yeah, if anybody's interested, please come join us on Facebook and shoot me a message and I will let you know where to send everything. We're sending him not just letters and stuff, but like if you make stuff, we're putting like a whole bag together. So if you have like keychains or anything, that you make that's inspired by him or if you have like an old photo or you do want to write a letter, please, we want to give him this like really big full bag of just joy and love. So the more people we can
Okay.
get to participate, the better.
Well, I'll send something over. And
Thank
is
you.
there a deadline? Is it May 1st
May
or
1st. Yep,
okay?
yep. I need
All
everything
right.
by May
So a
1st.
couple
Just
weeks.
yep, because the New York show is like the first week of June. So I need time to order the tote bag. I want to make sure like we're putting all the artists too. We're hoping everybody will submit art that we can put on the tote bag. Actually, it's really interesting. I've received about 5 pieces of work so far, and out of the five, three of them have been space related.
Interesting. Yeah.
Very
Not
interesting.
surprising, but interesting. Like
One
interesting
of
to
them
this
had an
subject.
astronaut on them, actually. Yeah, I was putting it together yesterday and I was like, oh, I should mention this is Steve. But yeah, if you have art that you'd like to send to go on the bag, all the info about it is in a post on the Art Collective Facebook group. So we would love to have so many people participate. So please, please join us. Please, please send me a letter. Have your girls write a letter. Have Marcy write a letter.
All right. I might just do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the kids could put something
He
together too.
loves
So
when kids participate and stuff.
right.
So
Oh, I know. Yeah, he's met my kids, and
yeah.
he was so kind, and it was such a beautiful memory for my entire family. Let's talk a little bit more about this song.
Yeah.
Andrew stated that the song was written about the fear that he had in the studio when he was recording "Leaving Through the Window," and we know that it was recorded in the same studios where Tom Petty recorded. It was also recorded in the same studio as some of his other favorite artists, like the Beach Boys and Weezer, recorded there. But he was thinking about all the. This is what he said in a live stream. He was thinking about all the greats that had come and gone before them, and the quote unquote ghosts of the studio, if you will. And as mentioned earlier, Tom Petty, that whole interaction or lack of interaction that he had with them. But he was scared that his dreams of becoming a professional musician may not come true, but also excited that they could potentially come true. And he was dreaming about those possibilities. And he says that kind of came into the lyrics, that made its way into the lyrics. So I'm also going to paraphrase something that Andrew said about this song in his June 2022 Camp Wilderness live stream, where I don't know if you were on there at the time, but he played about half or a little bit more than half of the Leaving Through the Window songs. He was saying we're
Hmm.
celebrating 20 years of Leaving Through the Window, and he played, I think, more than half of those tracks on his piano for us. It was really cool. This is what he said. It was the beginning of everything, and again, I'm paraphrasing, not quoting. It was the beginning of everything that he does today as a career. It was the first time he wrote a song sitting at a piano in a studio, and he was so excited about it that he wanted to record it right away, this song in particular.
That's cool.
Yeah. From the moment it was written to the moment they laid down looped drum beats, which I didn't realize there were looped drum beats in the song. That was
Huh.
surprising. He realized that this is what he craved, doing something like putting together the astronaut.
I love that.
That's one thing I love about Camp Wilderness. That's one thing I loved about that live stream in particular, is that he talked about each one of those songs and how just,
I'm
it
mad
might
that
have
I
been
missed
like
it.
that one might be recorded on there.
Yeah,
So if you're a Camp Wilderness member, anybody who's listening, go back to the videos and you might find the June 2022 Leaving Through the Window 20-year celebration. I haven't watched it in a couple years, so I'm kind of thinking I want to go back and watch it again if they have it.
I just learned that that whole like section was there.
Oh, the videos, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What's weird is that like some of the videos they record and put on there, and some they don't, and I don't know why. Because some of them, yeah, some of the live streams they've done that I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome to watch again, aren't on there, but several of them are.
Interesting.
So, but he also mentioned his love for outer space on there, but that's not at all surprising to anyone listening
Right.
or you and I. That's why these references started from the beginning of his lyrical writing career. Now, I know that you've incorporated space in a lot of your designs, astronauts in your designs.
Yeah.
So space is something you feel connected to as well, right? Like, do you feel like it's, and I think we've kind of touched on this, but this is something that it seems like you and Andrew have in common. I know that that was really important to you when you were young, and sounds like it's still fascinating to you. Is that something that tends to come through in your art, even non-Andrew related, or?
Yeah, actually it's really funny. My parents sold my childhood home a couple years ago, and
Mm.
as I was like cleaning out my bedroom, I have tons and tons of sketchbooks and art projects and whatever, and I'm looking through them and there's always consistent doodles for me. I've always been like a big doodler, and I used to have like an astronaut character that I drew.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
wow, that's
yeah,
cool.
it comes up like reoccurring. I had an art teacher, must have been like ninth grade, who was just the best. And she like really taught me how to like hone in on like creating my own drawing style or whatever. And I remember just like really building this astronaut to like look the way I wanted it to be like cute and like this something that I could draw consistently in different ways.
Hmm.
But so this little astronaut guy comes up a lot in my doodles, which is just like so funny. And I don't know like that it was a conscious decision or if it was just like what can I draw. But when I was younger, I would draw from feeling or whatever. But these days it's sort of more of just like whatever comes out, comes out.
Hmm.
But so I don't know that like the astronaut was a conscious decision or if it was just something that sort of unconsciously or subconsciously came out of me, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, there I had a pottery thing of an astronaut. I had a little bolt, like a jewelry dish that was like outer space and like the handle was the moon. I've always been very into space and into astronauts. And I remember being in elementary school and like there were these like wood benches and I used to jump off them and pretend that like I was on the moon, like
Hmm.
that there was no gravity and I was like jumping.
Oh.
It's yeah. Stupid, but yeah, I don't know. It's
No, I mean it's that, natural curiosity and
yeah.
imagination of a child. It's just yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and but then I learned how much math and science was involved, and I was like, oh, I can't be an astronaut. No, they always say you're one brained or the other. I am not math and science brained. So there goes my dreams. Yeah. All those women just went to space. I guess my dreams aren't totally
No, yeah, Katy
shot,
Perry could do
but yeah,
it,
right.
we can do
Yeah.
it. So
So who knows? Just
we're gonna get to lyrics here in a little bit, but
yeah.
he also mentioned that he still very much loves that final lyric in the song to this day. And the lyric that we're gonna talk about is and I've got you to propel me, and I still need so much. And he talked about this theme in the songwriting that he still carries with him to this day, which is really cool because he obviously wrote that song now well over 20 years ago. But the theme is that as an artist, he loves that he's able to find the words to say at a piano in a song that he can't possibly think of to say when he's not writing music. He believes there's a truth that comes with this line, and that's "I've got you to propel me, but I still need so much." And he's touched on this topic before when talking about "Tilt with the Wind No More," and that's as an artist. Why is it although he already has so much and he's so grateful for what he has, but he still wants more? I'm assuming as an artist you can relate to that. It's like you have what you need, but like you still like are reaching to past new
Yeah.
boundaries and like trying different things because you're inspired, right? And so that's kind of what he called out as a theme in this song that he still carries with him to this day, 20 years later.
I get it. I mean, from an art perspective, and Kat and I talk about this a lot, that we have so much creative energy and like the desire to create. And
Hmm.
so like the inspiration is there, right? Like I've got inspiration to propel me, but like
Hmm.
I don't always know how to get it out or what it is. Or like I'll make something and then I feel like it's not enough. I need to make more. Like
Hmm.
there's just like endless opportunity. I think that's really interesting that it sort of goes along also with like you are not alone. I need so much. You don't want to be alone. Like you need people around you, you need things around you. Like I think there's a lot of interesting subtext here.
So that's where he tied it back to the music he's making presently. Like I said, like he's referenced these ideas on Tilt with the Wind No More as well. And he said at that point
Hmm.
that the very same concept appears there, that he has to talk himself down sometimes when he really does have all he needs. So he doesn't need anything more, although he still has the drive to make great records, to make great art.
I'm not a very like introspective person when it comes to like music or TV or reading. My friends or my mom, my mom and I will read the same book and she'll be like, I know who did it. And I'm like, I like don't think about it at all. Like I just
Well,
read the music. I just listen to the song. And maybe that's why I don't have like a personal connection to any particular song, right?
hmm,
But I never really think about it. I'm just like, okay, I like it. Like
yeah. I think my wife is similar. She doesn't put so much that I'm analytical when it comes to music. I want to think
Yeah.
about the lyrics. What does he mean? What does that mean to me? What does
Yeah.
that mean in the context of my life? And she's like, it sounds good, and that's why I like
Right.
it.
Right. I overthink everything else in my life. So I
Uh-huh.
think when I am trying to relax or just enjoy something, that like that's it. I just want to enjoy it. I don't want to think about why it's good or bad
Hmm.
or what it means. And I just want to like zone out and read a book and like be surprised when I get to the end and I found out who did it. Yeah, I never really thought about it from his perspective.
Well, let's talk about the sound of the song a little bit. The one thing that really strikes me about this particular song is that, and I don't know if you know this, but like I didn't know it listening to the song as a fan in the earlier years, only until I read the liner notes and watched some like Andrew YouTubes and things like that. Did you know that they had a whole orchestra on this track?
What? No.
So they brought an orchestra, and I'm just trying to imagine this like small indie slash pop punk, whatever you want to call them, band back then. And the label felt so strongly that they brought in this Paul
Yeah.
Buckmaster, who's like an award-winning orchestral conductor. And there's footage out there. I could not find it. That
I was
bugged
just gonna
me.
say, I
There's
would
footage
kill to see that
somewhere.
footage.
And so if you Google it, trust me because I did it this week, you can't find it. So it must be in something somewhere that I saw because I know I've seen footage of this where there was like an orchestra in the studio
Oh my
playing.
God.
So when you listen to the track again, there's strings in it. So have you noticed the strings before? Until I
I've
told you.
never thought about it because like I just listened to it. It's so funny. I in college I took like a an art of rock and roll class that like you were supposed to like be able to listen to and dissect, and I was always so bad at that. Like I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't know. I could listen to this and not tell you there was piano in it.
Well,
Like
I've been doing this podcast for 5 years and I still
right.
miss things all of the time.
That's
So
crazy. That's what they should do at Red Rocks.
they should bring the orchestra.
Bring in an orchestra.
And I think there might have been one other song on the album that they had the orchestra on. It's just interesting to me.
That's so cool.
I'm going to read right from my notes because it still surprises me. He's a Grammy-winning cellist, arranger, conductor, and composer, Paul Buckmaster, and they took a chance on this small-time band. So they must have really believed something, was possible here. Again, I think there's a video out there floating around. I'd be really anybody listening, I'd be really curious if you know where that video is, where it's buried in, because I feel like it was part of some longer video that I saw, and I don't remember where, when, and how I saw that. But I'd love to watch it again. And I don't think most of us, because I didn't pick up the strings until I read that there were strings on the track. And then I went and
Wow.
researched it and found this
Oh
information.
my God,
So
I'm so excited to go listen now.
also in the liner notes, this is really weird. There's a DJ named Introspect featured on the
Okay.
song. And that's, I guess, where that looping drums that he mentioned earlier
Yeah,
comes
that
from.
makes sense.
But I never would have thought that listening to the song. I only know that
Right,
from
that
the
it
liner
wasn't just
notes.
Brian. Yeah.
Right.
Huh. One of my favorite things is like when a band plays with an orchestra, like Ben Folds or Guster or
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
I
Yeah,
would kill to see Andrew with an orchestra.
I would too. Did you watch the 2020 Dear Jack live stream by any chance? Morgan Paris played her
Oh, yes.
violin. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it was
Yes.
so
Yeah, and I
beautiful.
was at that tour also where he had,
Yep, Morgan. Yep.
and that song with Lindsey Sterling is one of my favorite songs of his.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, I think we're on to something, Steve. I think we need to campaign for this.
An orchestra. Yeah, an orchestra
So
tour.
a tour is probably unreasonable, but like,
Could be. I don't know. Ben Folds can do it. Why can't Andrew?
sure. I mean, Guster does it,
Guster
and
does it. Yeah,
Guster, I would say, is like pretty comparable to Andrew
I would say so. Yeah.
size wise.
Ben Folds is doing a couple shows later this year, and the nearest one to me, I think, is Indianapolis. I'm not the world's biggest Ben Folds fan, so I don't know that I'd travel out of state for
Yeah,
Ben Folds, but I'm so fascinated by the idea of
yeah.
songs I know performed with an orchestra that it
It's
sounds cool.
magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Ben Folds, but he hasn't come here to do the symphony shows. But I did see Guster with the
Hmm.
Boston Pops, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. It just adds so much.
Yeah, so I'm much more of a Guster fan than a Ben Folds fan,
Yeah.
so I would be way more into that.
Well, now I can't wait to go and listen to the Astronaut again. And
Yeah.
you'll have to let me know what the other song was so that I can, or maybe
Yeah.
I will listen with intention and try to figure it out
There you
myself.
go. It might be, and I could be wrong because you know what I do, but it might be Kavanaugh Park, but I might be wrong on that.
Yeah. All right. I'll give
I'm
it a
just gonna put
listen.
myself out there and guess off the
All
cuff
right.
here.
We'll
But
let you know tomorrow if you're right or wrong.
yeah. So let's talk lyrics because we've alluded to
Yeah.
some of them already. And I know that, you didn't necessarily identify with this song specifically over other songs, but are there specific lyrics in the song that are important to you or do jump out at you when you listen to it?
The I Need to Be High was actually one of the first like Andrew things that I made. So like many years ago, and I want to preface this by saying that I have never done drugs in my entire life, like not even smoked weed or done a gummy or anything. So
Mm-hmm.
like I
Oh, sounds
personally
good.
don't need to be high. I
Yeah.
just want to go on the record as saying that. But one of the first designs I ever did was like an astronaut, and he's connected to like the words "I need to be high," and it was like on a tote bag, and
Okay.
like so that just inspired me. Like while I necessarily don't relate to it, I was just like, this is just such a great lyric. Like it just this whole song is so well written, like so thoughtfully written, like so what's the word like when you visually see it in your head? Again, like I see things in my head,
Mm-hmm.
like I see the story. I don't necessarily like relate to it, but like it plays like a movie in my head.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up the I need to be high line off the top because I also and am not someone who has been high that I know of before. I've
That's so interesting.
never
We
intentionally
don't
gotten
meet
high,
many
but
people like that.
right, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. I mean, like maybe I've been at a concert where there's someone that's been
sure.
doing that around me. Definitely high
Right,
school friends that did it in the
right.
car when I was present. But yeah, I've never intentionally done that or been high, I don't think. So the reason I say all that is that I do wonder if someone who does enjoy getting high hears the song
Mhm.
differently. Like, does this song mean something
Huh,
different to that person who's like, I need to be high, or calling out to the astronaut, and that maybe that lyric, some of these other
right,
lyrics in the I need some of what you got. I don't know.
right.
Maybe that means something different to them, and regardless of what it meant to Andrew and what it means to him, I don't know if that means something different to someone who does smoke versus someone who doesn't.
That's really an interesting like thought process actually, because
Yeah.
it is so hard to like put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Hmm.
And knowing what we know about Andrew, he's not not doing drugs.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it may have been a double on was it double entendre?
Yeah,
Double on
for
I
sure,
don't know
I
how to say that
think.
word, but
Right. I mean, I don't think he necessarily like needed to be high, but like
right.
it probably was a help, like a state that he enjoyed.
I think it was part of the culture of what's kind of neat about listening to Andrew lyrics. I've said this before on the show, is that he grew up. He and I are of a similar age, so like
Yeah.
a lot of his fans, probably, I'm
Same.
sure.
Yeah.
The songs that he was writing in high school, like this, remind me of high school, even if I didn't hear this song until after I was in high school,
Yeah.
technically, right?
I can see that.
And then, when he was dating and when he was, everything in transit, and then he was when he got married, and then when he had a child, and like now he's a 40-year-old family man, like all that stuff makes sense in those
Yeah.
different eras to me. And like I can understand this as like someone who was in high school and why he was writing these lyrics.
100%.
And something he said in an interview last summer with actually a former guest and friend of mine, Steve Jones, is that sometimes he would, and he was actually referencing Babies of the '80s when he talked about this, but which is funny. But he's like, sometimes I would just write lyrics to like make my friends laugh. And like it was
Huh.
entertaining to them. Like I would just write
Okay.
lyrics and they'd be like, "That's cool, say that," that's funny. And I look at these lyrics and I'm like, these sound like serious lyrics, and they are, and
Yeah.
they definitely mean something. But it's also like I could see high school kids being like, "That's cool, man. Keep that." Like that's a good line.
Yeah. It is
So,
interesting to think about that like he was what, like 18,
yeah,
19
he
when he
was.
wrote this. And it is kind of like mature and thoughtful for somebody that young.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think 18-year-old me relate. I mean, like, in some ways, sure. Like,
Yeah.
was I crawling out of my skin? Yes. Like, was I watching stars come off the wall? I totally get that. Like, you're bored out of your mind. You're trapped in your room. Like,
Hmm.
I had those glow in the dark stars on my wall, right? Like, but like, I don't know that I can relate to the like, I need to get out of here. I need to crawl into the world she brought. Like,
Yeah.
I need to be high. I need to be somewhere else. Like,
Exactly. That's how I interpret this song. What you just said is like escapism. I need
yeah,
whether it's getting high or like being somewhere else right now. Like
yeah,
I'm sitting in class watching the clock. I'm sitting in my
right.
bedroom and I have nowhere to go and no friends to call right now. Like
Sure. That I can
I
relate
need
to.
to be
Yeah.
out of here. I need to be up in space because that would be so much more interesting than
Yeah.
whatever the heck this is. So
That I can definitely relate to. Like getting out of the environment I was in, that I can relate to.
I really like what he says in the opening lyrics, and it resonates with me right now because of something that from a quote I read of his earlier about when he was in the studio thinking about the ghosts, quote unquote, of the people who came before him in the studio.
Sure.
And the opening line is, I've been sleeping with ghosts. I've been watching stars crawling out of the sky, which you referenced, and I've been hoping I'm close to the spaceman movies I call my life. Because that those lines make more sense to me overall as a bigger
Yeah.
picture in that he felt like, oh my God, this is unreal. Like I am living in, it's like I'm up above watching this thing happen to my life right now, which is so freaking cool. I'm about to become a rock star potentially, or about to fail miserably. He didn't know at the time.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's
but
a really good interpretation.
yeah, so and I only know that because of what he said on that live stream. So another reason I love when he like talks to us about his
I
songs. So
know. I know.
very cool. So
Yeah, it's a good intro to sort of everything. Like it could be like an intro to sort of his story, right? Like,
yep,
yeah,
true, yeah.
that's a good interpretation.
Yeah. And he goes on this for this so I'll continue on in the first verse. And I've been climbing ladders through time. I've got tunnel vision, but I'm doing fine. And I've been watching stars coming off the wall, which again you referenced, and maybe if I'm lucky I can catch them before you fall, and you are not alone. I don't have as nearly as clear of an interpretation of that one for my own life, or kind of like maybe the way he was feeling. Um,
Yeah.
but it's poetic. I like it. I feel like I don't pay attention as much to the verses in this one. They're pretty good verses, but like for whatever reason, even though maybe I can't identify specifically with a I need to be high, and again,
Yeah.
not knowing exactly what he meant, but like that's what jumps out at me, which is kind of funny.
The escapism.
Yeah, escapism.
That verse is also really interesting because, and the first verse and then the first half of that second verse,
Hmm.
it's I. And
Hmm.
then he says, I'm lucky if I can catch them before you fall, and you are not alone.
Yeah.
Not I am not alone, or before I fall. So, like, I wonder why the switch in perspective and who he's trying to catch, like,
Oh.
who's in trouble, and that he's trying to say to them, like, I've got you and you're not alone.
It sounds like a pretty dreamy, not only dreaming of the escapism, but dreaming of that person, and that person may be fictional or it may be someone in
Yeah.
his life at the time. I know on this show all the time I reference like maybe he was writing about Kelly, and it could have been, but it could have been
Well, he
anyone
had that
else
other
at the time.
girlfriend before Kelly. I
Hmm.
can't remember what her name was. I want to say
Aaron,
it was what?
not Aaron, I'm sorry. Jamie.
Right, I was gonna say Julia, but I was like, I
Yeah,
know it's not Julia, but I knew it started with it. Yeah, right.
yeah,
So probably this timing would have been Jamie,
yeah, could be.
but it's just interesting that so much of the song is I need that he'll catch you and you are not alone.
Now, interestingly, based on what you just said, the next verse after the chorus, so after the calling out to the astronaut, I need some of what you got, need to
Yeah,
be high, crawling out of the world she brought, calling out to the astronaut, need to be high. So the next verse, he says, and the part about the being alone changes a little bit. So listen for that. So he sings, and I've been holding this microphone and I've been shouting out, but I think we're alone. And I've got platinum vision and a tinfoil touch, and I've got you to propel me, but I still need so much not to be alone. So he needs not to be alone. In the first verse, he was saying, "You are not alone."
And now he's saying, I got you to propel me, but I think we're alone. So now there seems to be like an us happening,
Hmm.
but he's still afraid that he's going to be alone.
Yeah, so I think it's
So
it's a little
interesting.
bit of fantasy. It's a little bit of,
Yeah,
well, this could be the
back and
life I
forth.
have. Yeah,
Yeah,
if I can make this happen. And it may be a relationship, or it may just be like, again, general escapism for a potential love somewhere.
Platinum Vision and Tinfoil Touch are really interesting too.
I have no clue what he's getting at there, but
Tinfoil Touch makes me think of like tinfoil hats
that's what I
and like
thought
antique.
too. I'm like, what is he getting at? Tinfoil touch. That's,
But
yeah.
like tinfoil and but like platinum vision, where like platinum is this rare, expensive metal, right? So like
Hmm.
he has really high hopes, platinum vision, but tinfoil touch. So he's saying like everything he touches, everything he's making is kind of tinfoil, but he wants it to be
Oh, like
platinum.
cheap. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like
Oh,
low quality, right? Like
yeah.
he has this silver shiny thing, but it's tinfoil, but he wants this higher quality, this bigger something, this platinum.
That's a great point. No, no, I never read it
Me
that way,
either.
but I completely agree with you that he's got platinum vision, like high hopes with,
Yeah.
important things, but like actually everything he touches is like tinfoil, like cheap.
Right, which is sad to, think that that's how he was seeing himself at the
I mean, he was a
time.
teenager. Like,
Right, sure.
who felt 100% confident? Is it good for
Ugh.
you if you did? But like, not
No.
me. Like, even today, like,
No, yeah, yeah. Every day is different.
yeah,
Maybe like sterling silver.
yeah, yeah, right. No, I think that's a really cool call out. Like, that's
Yeah,
something and that's one of those lines like in this show sometimes. I know I'm gonna hear differently now. Like when I hear that line or sing it in concert,
agreed.
maybe it'll mean a little bit more to me now.
Even now, just like, you very kindly sent me the lyrics and I have them open on my screen
Yeah.
here. And it just sort of like came to me. I was like, what does that mean? Like, it's
Hmm.
so random. But I sort of was like, oh, I think I get it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes more sense to me
10th
now than
grade
it.
English poetry class is really paying off, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad you took honors because I did not. So
my mom made me.
yeah, yeah. I wish someone would have made me.
Yeah. Ugh. He really is such a wonderful lyricist.
Oh, I love it. I love reading through these things.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to me. Yeah, the chorus, like, again, it's hard for me to connect to the chorus in the I need to be high from like the very basic, like literal sense. But
Yeah.
again, I see something bigger in that chorus as like the escapism piece.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's what I draw from this usually.
Yeah, I like what you said about that he's sort of like above himself, watching his life unfold.
Hmm.
Or maybe he, needed to escape all the pressure, or
Hmm.
like for me, getting away from like the mundane life that I had in high school was like,
I think that's what he's getting at. I mean, I think it
yeah.
is like, okay, I think he had a pretty normal high school
Yeah.
experience. I mean,
Uh-huh. I agree.
yeah, and he was just like, yeah, I just can't wait to get out of here and like do something different. And that's isn't
Me
that
too.
the thing we all want to do? Like, I
Yeah.
just want to get out of here and go like somewhere else for a while.
Forever. I was
Yeah,
like,
or
get me
forever.
out of
Yeah.
here. And now I'm gonna have to rethink everything about Andrew. Like literally all the songs, because I honestly have not put thought into what a lot of them means. It comes up in our group chats every once in a
Hmm.
while, common themes or
Yeah.
whatever, but I've never really sat and like analyzed a song, and it's so interesting and actually like really fun.
Yeah. It's so much fun. I remember, so
Yeah.
you just brought up a core memory for me, and this does happen from time, like outside this podcast, I do
Yeah.
discuss lyrics occasionally with people, sometimes my wife, sometimes other
Sure.
people. But like I was at a party in DC, Georgetown, neighborhood of DC, many, many years ago. This is like such a weird random memory, by the way. I was a karaoke DJ for a short time,
Oh my God.
and I was DJing a party. So I was sent to this party and I had the equipment and we got out and they gave us free drinks. They're like, here, have some drinks. Like there was this, like somehow it came up. I don't know how, it had nothing to do with the karaoke piece, but somehow Andrew McMahon came up. And I started talking to this person about Andrew McMahon lyrics. And I was like, this is so cool. I'm just like connecting with somebody over lyrics at a party. how, and I never saw that person again. But like that moment, it was like we connected over these lyrics, and I don't remember which song it was, but
It's too bad.
yeah, I kind of just unlocked a core memory there. It
Yeah,
was
it was
crazy,
like you like foreshadowing for your podcast.
and that's what I get to do on this podcast now, which is
Right.
so cool. So
It's
thanks for
obviously
being
something
part
you
of it.
really enjoy talking about. So like that's so cool. That's
Yeah.
like the great thing about music in general, right? Is that like it is such a good connector. Music and art, everybody has their own opinions and nobody's right or wrong and there's so
Hmm.
many interpretations and
Absolutely.
oh cool.
I'm just gonna tie the lyrics talk up, if you're good with it, like with going back to those last lines that I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
because I mentioned them earlier in the episode, but I just want to come back to them. I've got you to propel me, but I still need so much is how he kind of trails off in the end, and so he comes back to some of those lyrics from verse two. I think he actually it's a direct repeat, but I like how he kind of trails off as an ending. Because he doesn't go back to, but I still need so much to not to be alone. He just kind of trails off
Mhm.
from there. I like those lines because that last bit, by leaving out the last few words the second time, kind of makes it feel a little bit different. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like leaving it in a different direction. But so, do you have a favorite part of the song, like lyrically or otherwise, like a favorite moment of the song?
Well, it might be different now that we've just like analyzed all of this. This is so crazy. I mean, normally with this song, the chorus is my favorite, but also I also really love how like you are not alone kind of like fades out. But now I'm kind of thinking that this last but I still need so much is maybe my favorite part because there really is a lot to unpack there. Like as humans, as society, there's like such a juxtaposition, right? Like there are so many people who are trying to live more simply,
Hmm.
who they buy these little tiny homes or are trying to be more responsible about how they grocery shop and avoid packaging or plastics or whatever. But like, what do we need to live? How much do we need to live? Like, you could fill a whole house with stuff, but like, how much in the house, like, do you really need?
None of it. We
Well,
need
that's not true.
water.
I mean,
We need
you need
food.
some of it, right?
Yeah.
Right?
We need clothing to keep warm. Sure.
Well, I mean, if you really want to get like literal about it, I mean, you don't need clothing.
Hey, where I live, you do. Like it's
Well,
cold.
I mean, like think about like cave people, right? Like they didn't,
Yeah, they made it
but
work.
like
Yeah.
it is really interesting to think about like how much do we need?
Hmm.
So maybe that's my new favorite part of the song.
I still need so much.
How much do I need? What do I need? Like what is essential?
Hmm.
Like what do I need to make me not feel like I need to disassociate, that I need to like separate from the world that I
Ah,
live in? Like what is it that I need?
yeah. Kind of connecting back to the verse, the original
Right.
verse, and the chorus. Even like this is what feeds me, and this is what is going to keep me from floating away into
Right.
space or trying
What
to.
is it? Yeah. What is it that you like really essentially need in life? Like, right, we talked earlier about being happy in life, about like that your job needs to make you, this might not have been while we were recording, but talking about, like having a job that makes you happy or
Yeah.
having people around you that make you happy. And to me, I think that's probably like what you need in life,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
love, happiness. But so I think like honestly, I have a whole new perspective on this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
I
not
love
just
that.
listening to the song and having the chorus bring me joy. It's like now that I've thought about it, I think like it's actually like a really interesting life lesson.
That outro is one of my favorite parts, and
Yeah.
honestly, the intro and outro are my favorite parts. And I wasn't even going to go to the lyrics with the intro, by the way, but I like that. I like that instrumental intro a
Yeah.
lot, and I like the outro, but including the lyrics that you mentioned. Those are my favorite parts, like the beginning and end of the song, which sometimes it's the chorus, sometimes it's a certain lyric. For me,
Yeah.
it's the way the song begins and ends. I think is pretty special. I
Huh.
think it kind of
You changed my perspective, Steve.
I like how that's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
But I like how the end of the song pulls you back to the beginning.
Yeah.
He's got at least he's got probably got more than a couple that do that, but I like the way this song does that. So,
That's crazy.
yeah.
It just makes me appreciate him even more.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything that we missed about the song or anything else that you want to talk about?
You're leaving me with a lot to think about, just about his catalog as a whole. I've been listening to his music for so long, and it's predominantly like what I listen to, right? Like at the end of
Hmm.
every week, my friends and I have this app that like recaps your music, and mine every week is Andrew, Guster, and Third Eye Blind. Like almost without fail. I would say like 95% of the time. But now I'm kind of like excited because I have something new to listen for
Hmm.
while I'm listening to the same music that I've always listened to, but like now I'm gonna listen to it in a different way, I think.
Well, what you just said is my hope for everyone that listens to this podcast, honestly.
Cool.
That's the
That's
goal.
awesome.
Like
You
for
did it.
them to turn it off and be like, I'm gonna go back and listen to that song again and find out what the
Yeah.
heck they were talking about.
And I can't wait to listen for the orchestra.
It's there.
It's
They're
crazy.
there. I'll tell you what, I don't ever assign homework when preparing guests for this show or anything, or even, in the future. But if you happen to listen to another Andrew song that hasn't been talked about on the show with a different perspective, I invite you to come back and say,
Thanks.
I'll talk about that song. And
Okay.
here's the perspective I had after we talked last time on this other song. So
All
think
right, I
about
like
that.
it.
Think about
I
that for
like
the
it.
future. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, 6 months, a year, 5 years from now, whatever.
All right, cool.
Yeah, no time
Yeah.
frame, no
It's a
pressure.
good assignment. It's a good, just even like something for me to think about,
Yeah,
for everybody to think about. And if anybody else thinks about it, they should reach out to you too.
I agree. I agree. So anybody who wants to come on the show, like Arielle, and have a conversation like this, it's always different. That's one of the things
Yeah.
I love.
It was really fun.
Thanks for sharing about your art and your perspective on this song, talking to me about live music and all of this. Thank you, everybody out there listening who listens to this show and continues to support and chats me like Ariel. So, like, sometimes we get in these good conversations and they end in a
Yeah.
podcast recording, but not always. And that's cool too. Sometimes I just like to chat with people, and I
Yeah.
love that. Ariel, remind us again where we can find your artwork, your Redbubble
Sure.
page, your with all of the stuff, Andrew related
Yeah.
and not, and then also about the fan collective. Remind us of all that.
Sure. Yep. So my Instagram is pretty creative by AES. That's A like Ariel, E like elephant, even though that's not my middle name,
Uh-huh.
and S as in Smith. So pretty creative by AES. And in my profile, there are links to my bonfire and my Redbubble. And if there's anything in there that you wish existed that you don't see, please just message me. I'm always open to collaborating or to new ideas. And please join the Andrew McMahon Fan Art Collective. We actually have a giveaway coming up really soon, a Jack's Mannequin giveaway. But like nothing's required to enter other than just like we'll probably ask you like what your favorite Jack song is or your Jack's favorite Jack's
Cool.
moment. No like donations or anything needed, and we plan on doing those like quarterly, so it's definitely a fun group to be part of. And then again, we're doing that sort of Andrew Love Bomb. So if you have letters or memories or whatever that you want to send, all the info is on the Andrew McMahon Fan Art Collective page, and you can always message me if you have any questions. And
That's
thank you so
awesome.
much for having me. It's been so, so fun.
I am so glad that
Thank
we had this time to chat and that you created this fan art collective with Kat. And
Yeah.
I will be on there and I will keep being active and hopefully other people will too.
Thank you. Yes, we need everybody to participate.
Awesome. And if anybody wants to reach out and be a guest like Ariel here, you can reach me at somethinginthewilderness@gmail.com or usually DM me on Instagram is the quickest, fastest, most effective way to get a hold of me. Thank you for joining, Ariel. And I'll just leave with a quote. I've got you to propel me, but I still need so much.